Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and welcome to Fish Tank Talks at the Dubai Airshow 2021. I'm honored to be with you today. My name is Matthew Cochran with DSMC, and it's really, again, an honor to be on stage with three such accomplished leaders in the space sector. Today, we are going to have a talk about space, mission preparation, and planning, and the experience of being an astronaut, something that very few have achieved, and you are leaders that will be able to help us understand what it's like to be an astronaut. I'd like each of you to spend just a minute introducing yourselves, and then we will jump into the questions. I'm honored to be joined on stage by Sultan Neyadi, Hazzaa Almansoori, and Charlie Duke, Apollo 16 Moonwalker. Welcome, astronauts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sultan, would you start off introducing yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Matthew, for having us here today. I think it's a great pleasure, great honor to have a Moonwalker, the one and only Charles Duke, and we have got first Emirati astronaut Hazzaa Almansoori. And as you mentioned, my name is Sultan Neyadi. I'm an Emirati astronaut. I was the backup for Hazzaa Almansoori in his and in the UAE first mission to space. I served 20 years in the UAE Army as an engineer, married, 5 kids. I had the chance to pursue knowledge throughout the service in the Army by getting a Bachelor in Engineering in Communications and Technology, Master and PhD in IT as well. And I was grateful to join the selection for the first UAE batch with my colleague Hazzaa Almansoori. We came along with more than 4,000 applicants, and I think we're really privileged and honored to participate in this field and presenting the UAE in the best possible way.
Sultan, with 5 kids, you were, were you looking to escape to space? No. Please, Hazzaa, a little bit about your background.
You did your homework about his 5 kids. Huh? So, really my story is growing in a really country with no space program. It was really hard to experience that or express that you want to be an astronaut. It was really difficult to even say that I want to be an astronaut in this country 5 years ago. And I remember that when I was a kid, I was watching the stars from my hometown, Liwa. I had that passion started inside me that I want to explore what's further. And as I get matured and grown up, I realized that's really impossible in this country back then. So that's what let me pursue Air Force to be a pilot and to enter this field as a military also, and to serve my country and to be in the Air Force as a pilot, F-16 pilot. That's my background. I am a test pilot in F-16. And from there, I just buried this dream of being an astronaut. Just I kept it for myself. And then Hazzaa Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid and Mohammed bin Zayed, they tweeted about the astronaut program. And without any hesitation, I applied because it's really a life opportunity and you have to be ready for that. And I felt that growing up watching Apollo pilots, all of them coming from aviation background, I felt that I'm ready now. So I have the skills set and I have the experience and I'm ready to apply. So I applied. And I've been fortunate and to have that privilege to represent my country and to be the first Emirati astronaut on board the International Space Station and to work with the international community, all of them working together for only one goal, which is space exploration and science.
And really your career has been based on service to this country, and really the country has supported you and the astronaut and the space program here tremendously in such a short time period, as you mentioned, and made so many accomplishments in such a short time, even the recent accomplishments during COVID. It's been incredible. Charlie, Moonwalker, legend. I don't think that's probably a good way to summarize, but tell us more about how you got involved in space and your career, and bring us up to date on what you're doing now.
Well, I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, and there was no space program. The word astronaut wasn't even invented back in those days. And when I got into high school, I decided that I wanted to follow my dad in the military. He was a World War II vet. and had spent 4 years in the Navy. And so my heroes were the military, that generation of World War II, if you will, that greatest generation. And so I decided to go to the Naval Academy because my dad had been in the Navy. I went off to prep school and to get my high school diploma because my high school in Lancaster, South Carolina, small town, wasn't good enough to get me to the Naval Academy. So I went to the Naval Academy, and when I was there, I fell in love with airplanes. I graduated in 1957, and I had an opportunity to go either Naval Aviation or Air Force. Back then, you could volunteer for the Air Force, and so I decided that Air Force was for me. So I volunteered, and I started flight school in 1957. In September, I soloed late September 1957 in a T-34, and 5 days later, Sputnik went up. Okay. And so to me, that was the beginning of the space age. And wow, they got a satellite up there, but there were still no astronauts. And then 2 years later, I'd graduated, finished my flight training, gotten my wings, gone through advanced training and F-86, and I was assigned to Germany to a fighter interceptor squadron. And I was on the way to Germany in early 1959, when I believe about that time NASA was formed and the first astronauts were selected, the 7. And I said, man, this new career field, but I'm too young, too inexperienced. They already got the astronauts, and it really didn't click, at first. And so I went to Germany and had a great time flying airplanes over there for 3 years. And then the Air Force wanted me to go back to flight school. Let me back up a minute. In 1961, Yuri Gagarin went into space, and real surprise to me, and I guess to the U.S. Air Force. And then several weeks later, Alan Shepard was the first American to go up and down. And then a couple of weeks after that, President Kennedy announced the Apollo program, and we're going to go to the moon in eight and a half years. And I mean, it was incredulous to me. We had 15 minutes in space, and he's saying we're going to go to the moon, I said, golly. And anyway, the Air Force sent me back to MIT. And while I was at MIT, I worked on a master's program in aeronautics and astronautics. And MIT actually had the contract to build the Apollo guidance and navigation system. So I did my thesis on that system and met some astronauts and second and third group guys. And they were enthusiastic, excited, and I said, well, how do I get that job? And they said, well, finish your degree, go to test pilot school, and you might have a chance. So that's the way it happened, and I went to test pilot school, graduated in July of 1965. September, I applied for NASA, and by April the next year, we were astronauts, and 19 of us selected. Mostly military, few civilians, but with military background. Mostly pilots in our group, and then that started my career, and I was assigned to various jobs at NASA, and finally in the summer of 19, after Apollo 11, I was selected as backup crew for Apollo 13, which meant you were going to fly on Apollo 16 if everything went well. And that's what happened. And so I was back up on Apollo 13, flew on 16, and backed up on Apollo 17. There were 9 missions to the moon, and I got to work on 5 of them. 2 in mission control, 2 as backup, and 1 as a flight crew. So it was a busy time during the Apollo missions for me.
Well, it's interesting hearing about the greatest generation, the World War II generation. My grandfather was in the Navy at that time, and really that greatest generation were inspirational to many different sectors, but it's interesting to hear how it was inspirational to you to get into aviation, to get into space, and really to inspire others to get into space. Let's talk a little bit about what the most striking moment was for each of you, and about your experience about going to space. I know that maybe this is a question better suited, but please give your thoughts on it also about the idea of going to space. You talked about a Sputnik moment. So when you went to space, what stunned you the most? What is something, maybe not technologically, but something that moved you, and to be able to look at Earth, and what was the most striking thing that you can remember about looking back from space?
Want me to go first?
Please, Charlie.
Yeah.
We'll stick with you.
To me, I think one of the most moving moments was right after we left Earth orbit. Our orbit was on the way to the moon, but we were going south across the equator. And when we turned our spacecraft around to retrieve the lunar module, I looked out the window on the right, and into my window floated the Earth. And it was about 30,000 kilometers away. And you could see the whole circle of the Earth. And it was just suspended up there in the blackness of space. And it was an emotional moment for me. The pictures just cannot capture the feeling you have when you look out there and there's the Earth, the whole of the Earth, and centered in your window. And we could see the Arctic Circle down across Canada, the U.S., Mexico, Central America was the landmass, and a lot of the Eastern Pacific Ocean with blue, and the blue of the ocean and the white of the clouds and the snow, and the land was all brown. Rocky Mountains you could see very clearly, Baja California, and there it was, just suspended in space. And emotionally, the pictures, I look back at the pictures, can't capture that emotion that one has when there it is out there in your window.
Incredible.
So, totally
Hazzaa, we were talking.
I think yes, the most striking thing, mesmerizing for me is looking at Earth from there. It was 400 kilometers only, sir, not that far like you, but it was amazing. I mean, just to look at Earth from there and to see the different continents, deserts, jungles, and oceans. Just you are moving so fast and observing everything on that moment, and you are floating at the same time. I think that's what is really unique about it. You are floating in space, and you see the darkness of space behind it. It's really a moment that I will not forget, and I learned that we reach there, that point, by working together as a countries, not by just one country itself. And that's a huge lesson for everyone to take from that, from this situation, is to work together. Because when we are working together, we can create an amazing thing.
And we were talking earlier about these pictures and being able to open up the national newspaper and see pictures that you took, and that we were able to share with the world across social media, and being able to have that ability to share that moment with you. We felt it was almost in real time. I remember staying up to see the talks that the base station was having with you, and it was just such an emotional time.
Definitely, yes, I totally agree, because, you know, this is happening for first time in this country. And you feel it is more relative to you, even if you are like citizen or living in this country. You feel it is something happening. It's like Apollo.
Yes.
I always reference that here. Like, it's like Apollo flights happening in the UAE.
Yes.
Everyone is talking about space. The elders, the kids, everyone's thinking about space, how exploring, how to go there, how to live in this space, which is really important. That's the message that we want to spread to everyone.
Well, and as you know, it's interesting, having been here 20 years, and we're now in the year of the 50th, and watching the country go so quick through what other countries took decades to accomplish. The UAE has accomplished in a very, very short time period. And now, as people are leaning forward and talking about what's next, Sultan, let's tackle that question. What do you think are the next steps for our exploration of space? And what is the mission that you'd like to go on in the next step?
So I'll talk about our program in the UAE. So as you may know that we have 4 astronauts in the astronaut corps in the UAE. We're currently training in NASA, Houston. And it's a long process of training. Hazzaa and myself just finished the pre-assigned flow, which means that we have the ability to go on board the station and work for longer duration missions, and it's a matter of assignment opportunities. We have the 2 new additions, Noura Al-Matroushi and Mohammed Al-Mullah. They will start the ASCAN training, which will last at least 2 years. So by the end of that, we'll have 4 active astronauts ready to go to space. And again, it's a matter of opportunities. And when we talk about opportunities, the current goal is to go to the International Space Station. And it's a huge opportunity, not only for the UAE itself, but for the whole region to spread the enthusiasm and knowledge about going to space and doing science in space. And as you may know, the ISS is a huge laboratory that floats around the Earth, and we can do science on board the station, and that is not possible to be conducted on Earth. So it's a great thing to be part of. And we hear a lot of ambitious plans to go back to the moon through the Artemis program. We definitely would like to be part of that. I mean, going to the moon and following the footsteps of great heroes and legends, I think that is the ultimate goal personally, and I mean for my colleagues as well.
And that program, going back to the moon to then the next step to Mars, really,
Well,
really pushing
yeah.
that envelope. So it really now the space program as a world is moving much faster, it seems, than ever before. Maybe Hazzaa, talk a little bit about what are some of those next steps to build on what Sultan just talked about.
So definitely, yes, we are looking forward to participate in future missions as a human space flight. We are currently, as he mentioned, we are 4 astronauts. We are going to train for opportunities in future to participate. And as you mentioned, it is going in a very fast rhythm. I mean, like we are seeing different private companies joining this race, from building their rockets, capsules, and even space stations in future, which is going to be private. So UAE, as a leadership and government, looking forward to participate in a human space flight in future, even further than moon itself, going farther than that. And as we say in Russian, this is one of the languages that we trained on. We call it shag za jagam. So it's mean step by step we will go there.
Shway shway.
Yes, or shway shway.
Charlie, Hazzaa mentioned new entries into the space program, SpaceX, Blue Origin. These are just a couple of the names. But when you look at what are the next steps, where would you like to see the space programs, whether it's the U.S. space program or the international space program, where would you like to see those next steps be taken?
Well, I'd like to just add on to what Hazzaa says, is that I see two programs really. The Earth, I think NASA's going to not abandon the space station, but turn over Earth orbit to the private companies. Because the budgets is going to be, the amount of money it's going to take to get to the moon again with Artemis is going to be a strain to budget, in my opinion. So we will see 2 programs: the Earth orbit, where SpaceX, Blue Origin, not so much Blue Origin, but a Starliner, and all of those will be supplying crews to the space station, and also just commercial tourism is going. I think it's going to multiply as they get more and more vehicles. The price will come down. These guys are in business to make money, and I think they know how to do that. And it's going to be a change in the atmosphere, I think, in the world. That, hey, just about anybody's going to be able to go and see that beautiful views that we've had. And then I see NASA. That NASA hadn't asked me about this, but I see NASA focusing on Artemis and deep space unmanned stuff, you know, rendezvous with meteorite, comets and things like that. Not comets, but meteors, and then doing a moon base on the moon, which I think eventually we're going to see, and it's going to be a great place for science and permanently living on the moon. Cycling crews back and forth, but establishing a base like similar to what the science community has in Antarctica today. We'll have something like that on the moon. To me, Mars is down the road. It's order of magnitude harder going to Mars and making that a safe mission rather than doing the moon stuff. I think the human spirit is to go explore, and eventually humankind will make it to Mars, and perhaps a Mars base, if you will, cycling crews back and forth and learning more about the universe. But the moon is a great place for a science station. I mean, you have no atmosphere, so there's no pollution. You know, it's just a beautiful sky up there. You can see the magnetosphere around the Earth, and just a lot to do up there, and a lot of things.
I mean, and when you mention this, the commercialization of space is happening where maybe one day we'll all have to be astronauts, because either part of our job is to go up there, or tourism, and maybe some of the new missions that they're talking about from some of these commercial companies of shuttling people to be able to stay in a hotel.
Yes.
I can see a Jumeirah branded hotel in space soon, maybe. We have time for one more question, and this is actually interesting because having been here, and I have 3 children that were all born here in Dubai. They've grown up with the space program, and so I joke at the dinner table. I have 2 sons and a daughter. I say, you can be anything you want to be. You can be an engineer, you can be an F1 driver, you can be an artist, but put astronaut in front of engineer, put astronaut in front of F1 driver, put astronaut in front of anything you do, because that's where we're going as humanity.
Totally agree, yes.
And they all agree. And so we often spend time around talking about what are those skill sets. And so really the last question is, what were the skills that were most useful from your early career becoming an astronaut, and what did you have to change about the way you work as part of the space program? Could maybe, if you could take us through that, Hazzaa?
Yeah, coming 4 years ago, I was here in this Dubai Airshow doing solo pilot demo in F-16. It was amazing, just flying the F-16, this beast, and low level, high speed, checking everything. You have to be really precise, disciplined, and safe. So these attributes, these skills of being disciplined, being really precise in reading everything, that's really skills that you need as an astronaut, because it's going to help you in conducting things maintenance-wise or checklist or procedures in a very precise way. It is really dangerous job, and there is a lot of risk from launch, from training itself, to launch, to going there, to live there, to come back. This is one side. The other side is to live with the group, camaraderie. And in military, we have that, to live with it in squadron, to trust each other. This is really important in this type of job, because you need to trust your fellow astronauts, and we are coming from different countries. So we have to build that trust, and you have to give each of us, like giving his skill set, add up to the bigger picture, which is working together, conduct science, and looking to the whole assignment as a one team, not as an individuals.
And this is, the team approach has been so critical. And again, I can't emphasize to those that are listening to this and will watch it later, how much the UAE has really supported the space program. And really the USA being an inspiration, that Sputnik moment that put Kennedy's announcement in 8 years we're going to be on the moon. The UAE and the US and that working together, along with all the many nations that are coming together for space, it really is a team, and it makes us on planet Earth feel more as a team. It's bringing about a little bit more peace when we talk about working as a team for space. Sultan, same question to you. What are the skill sets that you'd say to your 5 children? Do you want to be an astronaut? Here's what you're going to have to do.
Well, I totally echo what Hazzaa regarding being a good team member. I mean, going to space is going to be probably impossible if you want to do it alone. So it has to be like an international cooperation with different agencies, different astronauts from different disciplines as well. And coming from an engineering background myself, as I mentioned, worked 20 years in the Army. I think being an engineer helped me in understanding the rationale and logic behind the system. So when we were training to go on a mission, I had like I think I had the opportunity of understanding the system, the life support systems, the thermal control system, the communication systems on board the station, and thanks to my engineering background, that was really logical, and it felt rational and easy to digest. And again, serving in the military for 20 years helped me actually to be a very good crew member. I mean, even in the backup team, I had the privilege to work with a Russian commander and an American first engineer as well. So being able to communicate easily, being an easygoing person within a team, I think it's a key element to be successful as an astronaut, either on board the station or beyond.
Fantastic. Yep. Charlie, you have the last word on this, and maybe not just the skills, but what if you're going to give your recommendation to young people today that are going to watch this and hear later, what are some of those key words of inspiration to get these skill sets?
Well, the astronaut program right now is not just pilots and engineers. They're doctors, scientists, geologists, you know, every kind of scientific discipline, medical degrees. So I tell kids inside there's what excites you, what do you like to study, what are you inquisitive about, and I said pick that, whatever that is, pick that as your goal, and just about anything you decide, you know, not philosophy or psychology, but something in the engineering field and something in the medical field. Pick something that you like, and don't pick something that you think is going to get you to the space program, and you don't like it. Like if I'm going to study physics because I think that'll get me to the space program. So you get a degree in physics and you don't really like it, but that's your degree, and all of a sudden the space program's canceled. So now you got a education that you're really stuck in, and it's not really what you should be doing. So I said, pick something you like. If it's engineering, medicine, or whatever, pick something that you like and study it at. And then as the opportunities open up, then go for it if it's an astronaut job. And that's what happened to me. I was just studying engineering, and I love flying, and I love engineering, and so, you know, and I didn't know whether NASA was going to select any more astronauts or not, but it turned out they did, and I was in line, so I said, raised my hand and said, I'm gonna apply anyway. Might not get selected, but I'm gonna apply. So it worked out, so pick something you like. And
pick something you like.
Yeah.
I like that. That's something that can translate very well. Charlie, Hazzaa, Sultan, thank you very much for the time today. It's been an honor to have this talk with you. I hope that one day we can do this interview in space.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe, stay well, stay strong.
Thank you.
Shukran.
Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much,
nice.
Charlie. Thank you.
Great being with my colleagues here.
It's really
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, it's been a nice talk, and I hope that this is one that will, you know, they're going to send this to people to reuse, hopefully in academic environments and things of that sort.
Really
so
great, thank you.
I hope that your words are very inspirational. Your experiences are really a great guide for all. Thank you again for your time. Thank you.